Hey guys, welcome back to Stop the Shunning. My name is Bethany, in case you are tuning in for the first time. Today I'm talking with Kelly. Kelly was a devout Jehovah's Witness for 40 years. And when she started to wake up to the fact that the truth wasn't the truth, her original goal or intention was basically to slowly back away, fade, and just move on with her life in peace. However, when the elders caught wind of this, they started to meddle, shocker, in her personal life, in her private life, and started to pressure and eventually force her son to stop speaking to his own mother. And so that was the last straw. For any mother, that would be devastating. So today Kelly is here to tell her story of how everything unfolded and how she realized that the Jehovah's Witnesses were not an organization of love or truth. So thank you for coming on the channel today, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me, Bethany. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. I wanted to have you on. I'm so glad that you reached out to me, Kelly, because when I got your email and you told me what you were going through, I could feel let me make that clear to the audience, the justified rage and devastation. Because even though I don't have any biological kids of my own, I can only imagine how, like I said, devastating and furious I would feel if I was in your position, because you're just trying to mind your own business, step away, back away, move on with your life, like a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses do when they wake up and they try to leave. And it's like, don't mess with my kid. And that I could just feel it, that like that was the last thing where you just blew a gasket. So I think your story is really important, because it illustrates the degree of control that this organization exercises over families, and the disrespect the elders show towards family bonds, like nothing sacred except their rules. So anyways, with that said, welcome. Thank you for coming on. And can you get us started here? Tell us a little bit more about your background, and then eventually we'll get into those other things. Did you come from a devout Jehovah's Witness family? Can you tell us?
Yes, yes. That was beautiful what you just said. Like every part of that was spot on. But yes, so I was born into this, I suppose you could say. I was raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. My family, we all were. My mother came into the truth. Well, I call it the truth, but we all know. But yes, so my mom at first, and then my father, but he became inactive pretty early on. And so when I say inactive, for those who don't know, that just means that he stopped attending meetings and practicing. So I'm the youngest of four siblings. And as we grew up and our mother was taking us to the meetings and studying with us, my sisters, they began pioneering, and full-time service was really something, like in the ministry was something that was very, very promoted. Basically, there was no option. So everything, especially as the youngest, these were the goals that were set before us, and that is what we did. And there was really no other option for me. So that was the goal that I set. And then at 13 years old, I got baptized into the religion. And so to give a little bit background there too, with it being the goals that we have in life are only wrapped around the organization, is that even as a child, like one of the elders asked me one time, what do you want to do with your future or in the future, and I said something about going to college, and and I don't know why I said it. I was like 5 or 6 years old, and my mother's response was just that she was so disappointed. Like, oh, it was like the most crushing blow to her. And so that is, we'll get into that further, because obviously this is something, about not getting higher education. That's another thing that's just one of the many that's so just infuriating about this whole thing, is that this is something that we really truly were more than just discouraged from doing growing up. But they just really don't allow you to go through the natural processes of growing and maturing as an adult, as a human being. When I started pioneering when I was 16, so I did follow those examples in my family, and it was just what you did. And so that was everything that I had in front of me for my whole life, was that I was going to always be in full-time service, having a career, supporting myself. I knew I would have to have a job or something eventually, but that was just not anything that it was just not what we thought about, which is very hard for you to explain to people who have never been a part of this. So yeah, it's just,
Yeah. A lot. Thank you. Thank you for giving that background. What a lot of people don't understand is I think when they hear about Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or other high control groups or cults or whatever, they think that we actually chose this. We signed up for this, but the reality is there are a lot of second and third generation, like you were describing, a lot of second and third generation people that are born into these groups. I was one of them, you were one of them. So you're saying like I don't really have a choice. It's like what we do. So, this shaped my whole worldview. And it's not like, somebody necessarily came to my door and tried to convert me, or I looked at something and said, "Yeah, sign my ass up." You're just born into this, They don't realize it's easy sometimes to laugh at Jehovah's Witnesses. Like you don't understand, most of them were born into it. And if given the chance, well, we'll get to that, if given the chance to have their own mind on things, you're not allowed to, as you were saying.
Exactly, exactly. And that came much, much later because, to be honest, I was fully indoctrinated. I was fully, I had the mindset for most of my life. I believed it. I wholeheartedly believed it. I was sincere in what I was doing. As a young person, I was a good girl. Like I was good. But I was always feeling like I had to prove how good I was, because you hear a lot about like the elders and the elders' families, but see, my father was not, and he was not coming to meetings. So it's a very misogynistic organization as well. So without having that father figure there present at the meetings, it was very difficult. Like my mother had a very hard time sometimes because there was little respect for what she was doing. And let me be clear, my mother was a good mother. Like I don't, after this video, there's going to be a lot of people, thinking that I'm saying negative things about that, and I'm certainly not. Like I'm saying that, she was good. I had a good childhood. However, I'm talking about the Jehovah's Witness part of it, which was pretty much our life.
Would you say the institutional abuses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the just the air that they promote, what they promote as far as like the mindset of people and how things are supposed to be, it's very controlling, and they promote abuse in a very tricky way. Like it's very under the radar, very stealth, to the point that people don't even realize that the way they're behaving is abusive, but it is. And so yeah, I mean, even just things like having a crush on someone at 16 years old, no one really like helps you to work through these normal processes of life in a normal way. I mean, I got in trouble for hot and heavy hand holding under a table at lunch one day
Sorry.
with
I'm
the
not
team.
allowed.
We were 16 years old and we were good. Like we were good. We weren't doing anything bad. And they should be really happy that that's all we were doing was just holding hands, for goodness sakes. But we
Yeah.
got in trouble for this. We got dragged into the back room. like at the Kingdom Hall. Like they dragged us into the back room, and how, like, that's traumatizing. That's traumatizing to a young person. And especially when you are being good and you are doing all the things, like you are following all the rules and you're trying your best and you're terrified of breaking them because you know what's coming to you if you do. So yeah, it's just maddening. So then to kind of transition into like now, when I got married, got married very young, and it was to someone who was, his family was very respected. Father was an elder, mother was a pioneer, and he had pioneered since he was like 13 years old, and right. And so ideally, you look at this situation, and everyone's just thinking, "Oh, this is perfection. Everything's going to be so great." And I thought so. I thought, well, if it's like this, then of course we're going to be all the things they say about marriage and how wonderful it is.
Everything looks good on paper.
Yes, yes,
It looks good on paper, but the reality for a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses is that you can check these boxes. They only care about these, sorry to interrupt, it's just like these spiritual attributes. But it's like we don't know how the other person feels about money, sex or child rearing or whatever the thing is, major topics, ambitions, goals, or whatever. It's just like, are they a Jehovah's Witness? Are they putting in this amount of time? And they're looking for these spiritual characteristics or markers without understanding, is the person a little screwed up in the head, or like there's no vetting other than, are they a Jehovah's Witness? And they check that box. So yeah, I get
right.
it.
Right. Because again, you have over here, you have what's being taught, and then you have over here what's actually being done. And you see this pattern throughout with every situation. And so marriage is no different. So you have what is supposed to be, and on the surface, this is what it looks like, versus what is actually happening behind closed doors. And as we got into marriage, behind closed doors was wildly different than what I ever thought it would be. And it was just, now that was traumatizing. That was traumatizing. So yeah, so I ended up, we kind of had some issues all along. But after I had my son is when things really started to kind of fall apart. And just like personality traits, and whenever you have a child, it's things get magnified. So if you had a problem before, now it's just going to be 1,000 times worse. And it did got 1,000 times worse. And he was, my husband at the time was an elder, and his father was an elder, still had been an elder for years, and was actually the coordinator of the body of elders. So, which again, yeah. So there's this hierarchy in the congregations that, people outside also, just don't know that much about. But your status in the congregation, it matters very much, and they will deny that until they are purple. But it is a fact.
But we know.
We know. And
Those who know.
Right. And
Yeah.
I was an elder's wife. So, but it was in name only, because there was no respect for me at home at all. And we would go to the meetings and we would sit there, and I would just look around sometimes during the meeting, and I would just think, no, nobody here knows me. They don't know the truth. They don't know what's going on. And we were an example. People looked to us as being an example. And it was a lie. I mean, like a vicious lie. And I just was mortified about living. I just felt like a total hypocrite. And I just got to the point where I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. so many times I just wanted to get up and walk out.
That is so common. Um, and I thank you for saying that because a lot of people wonder if they are alone, like you. Like, am I the only one? I used to sit, even though my husband wasn't an elder and it was a different set of circumstances. I would sit there my whole life, when you're aware and you're an adult or whatever, you know, before I woke up, I was basically like, am I the only one who's having doubts? Am I the only one who feels like a hypocrite? Like, I don't really believe this. And I have something's brewing inside of you, but you can't really pinpoint it. Um, so you do wonder and you do feel like it's just, this is BS. But you have to, it's the image. They care about, Jehovah's Witnesses care about image. I think that's what I'm trying to spit out is that, yeah, there's the struggle between like everything has to appear fine and everything's great and we look great on paper and I'm the elder's wife and my husband's an elder, whatever. So you're saying deep down secretly you're like, nah, I'm getting tapped out on this. So what eventually was the tipping point, or when did you start to kind of back away, or how did that happen?
So things, when I finally start to ask questions, or it wasn't even really asking questions, it was just I wanted things to be better. Like I thought, okay, there's obviously a problem, and so we need to fix this. So I started, approaching. First, I approached my husband, and then as things just didn't start, work out, things weren't getting fixed, and so I ended up talking to the elders. I went to them. I suggested to him that we go together. So that was a huge mistake because we can just guess what happened when we did that. Kelly got thrown right under the bus. Suddenly everything that I had ever done was things I didn't even realize were an issue, just got brought up, and I'm just sitting there thinking, wow, I'm not going to put myself through this again. So we I don't really remember like exactly like the process of things, but I just know that there was at one point I spoke to my mother-in-law, and she actually said to me, she goes, "Oh, look around. Everyone's miserable." And I was like, what? Really? Because I don't think that we're
That
supposed
makes it
to be,
okay.
right. I don't think we're supposed to be miserable. I thought we were supposed to be happy. Isn't that what all these videos we're watching is about? Right?
The reason I'm making that face or whatever is because Jehovah's Witnesses claim to have the truth, and the truth is supposed to set you free. And you have the bet quote, like "I'm loving it," like the McDonald's slogan, or "Just do it," Nike. Their
Yeah.
their slogan is "Best." We have the best quote, "Best life ever."
Right.
So it's like if that's true, why is everybody so miserable? And why are you saying that so casually? That's interesting.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, because if life were actually the way they show it in the videos, you might have the best life ever.
But it's
But
not
the
reality.
at all. I mean, not even a little bit. In fact, it's laughable. Like sometimes they would show something about the way people handle conflict and make peace with one another. And I wanted to break into like diabolical laughter and be like, are you kidding me right now? Because that's literally zero. Like no one does that.
Right.
And they're the most judgmental, like nitpicky people you can possibly imagine. And so, yeah, like I'm saying that now because when I look back, like I was very blinded at the time. It took a while. It took a while. So, like, I wanted it to be so. Like, I wanted it to be the truth so much because I had taught people this. When I was pioneering, I went to pioneer school twice. I thought I knew the Bible. And so, it's a little embarrassing when you've been trying to convince others of something that now you're realizing so blatantly wrong. And it's just like slapping you in the face every time you turn around. So yeah, so I towards the end of like getting towards my divorce, um, I just really wholeheartedly went to try to save my marriage. And because again, I was just, Jehovah hates a divorcing. If I heard that once, I heard it a million times. And so I didn't want to do the wrong thing. Like I was trying to be good again, right? And so I went to the elders countless times. Spoke to them on the phone and whatever. I don't know how many times. I think the last summer before I actually went and filed for separation, probably visited, like met with the elders about 6 times within a few months, and met with the circuit overseer, talked to all different elders. Like it was different ones. I was like, well, if this one didn't listen, I'm going to try to talk to this one. And I got the deer in headlights every time I would sit there and try to explain what was happening. And it, excuse me, it wasn't like I was just saying nasty things and just blaming him for everything. I was genuinely trying to get help. And it just, they did not, I don't think they had the first clue what to do. Like they just
Jehovah,
didn't know what to say.
Jehovah's Witnesses are not qualified to give marital advice to a raccoon. All right. So and a lot of elders, this is just generally speaking, I mean, there's always exceptions to stuff, but a lot of elders are in miserable marriages. What do they think? You're going to give you a free pass? Say, nah.
Exactly.
There's a lot of congregation politics and dynamics going on.
Yes.
So here
Yes.
you are just genuinely coming forward, like seeking help or guidance from your religious leaders. And like you said, you're getting that deer in the headlights look. And I'm like, this is
Mhm.
serious stuff. This is marriage. This is children. These are big life problems. Where else am I going to go? Do you want me to hire a therapist? I'm trying to go to my elders for.
No, they don't want you to hire a therapist.
No, of course not. Yeah. Exactly. Because
That is what they don't want you to do.
a therapist is going to listen and be like, "This is some crazy shit. You need out." Not just whatever that is, whether it's out of the marriage or out of the Jehovah's Witnesses organization. Not that I'm getting ahead of myself. Not a therapist isn't necessarily going to tell you because they shouldn't. They should leave that decision to you. That
Yes.
final conclusion to you. But most therapists are going to listen to this and be like, "Man, this sounds controlling and unreasonable." And sounds like you've been under some mind control. So
Yeah.
you're looking for help, and so you were speaking to the elders. What happened after that?
So, just to your point just now, I would like to add that I did go for a short time to therapy,
Okay.
and it was good. It was helpful as far as like the anxiety I was feeling for all of this. But a family member did say to me, well, a therapist is never going to tell you Jehovah's thoughts on a matter, so you shouldn't go. I just thought you would think that was funny because it's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh yeah,
Like,
it's true.
really?
For anybody who doesn't understand this, like just a little extra for the audience, if they're not familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses, and you can attest to this, Kelly, for decades they crapped on therapy
Yes.
as quote secular wisdom or wisdom from Satan.
Yeah.
And so if you were brave enough to go seek help from a therapist or a counselor or whatever, you were having anxiety or depression and you're speaking to this person, they would shame you, guilt you. And then now what's interesting is that there's so many Jehovah's Witnesses in therapy, they're having to backpedal, I noticed in their literature
Yeah.
and be like, oh, there's no you know what I'm talking about? Like in their recent literature,
Yeah.
I say like over the past 5 to 10 years, no one should be shamed. There's no shame in seeking help. There's no shame in medication. There's no shame in speak. But we know the culture of the organization, Kelly,
Yeah.
and that if that gets around to through the congregation, it's like, well, why do you feel the need to go speak to a therapist? What are you saying that you're not getting here in the congregation?
Hmm.
What answers? That's basically their argument. What answers are you not receiving from Jehovah's organization, and the brothers and the spiritual food here. What are you not receiving that you feel motivated? They think their anxiety and depression and problems, they gaslight you and think it exists in a vacuum. It's like, no,
Yeah.
no, no, hold up. I was raised in this from birth. This didn't just magically, because this happened to me too. I was told, you just have mental problems. You're just having a crisis. It's your
Yeah.
period. My mother, I'm just going to say that. My mother used to say that all the, honey, are you on your period? Your
Yeah.
hormones. Yes, I said the P word. It's your hormones or something like that. They gaslight you. It's never the crazy indoctrination that you're learning
Hmm.
the literature and their propaganda films.
Yeah.
So
And then they ask you, what is gaslighting? And you're like, which is exactly like what someone who gaslights you would say.
right. So anyways, I
Yeah.
feel that to the core. I feel that to the core. So that's interesting. So you sought out therapy and it helped you with some of the anxiety, but you were shamed a little bit
Oh,
for it.
I mean, yes, I was
Yeah.
shamed for that. And so I was doing, and this is another thing, like one of the reasons I came on here is to help people to understand that, there is a process that the witnesses encourage you to do. Well, not just encourage, they really tell you that this is what you should do. Going to the elders when
Right.
you feel like you're spiritually down, you're spiritually affected, like you need to go to the elders and have them, help you. It's like, you know, medicine for the soul, right? And they did nothing like that. As a matter of fact, they made the situation entirely worse. And because of the hierarchy that we discussed earlier with the different positions, because I was in a congregation with my husband being an elder there for years and my father-in-law being the coordinator of the body of elders, which is just the head elder, guys. So um, he, for years, there were a lot of older elders there too, had been around for a long time. So I was the black sheep coming to it. They considered this like a personal attack on him and on them, and they weren't listening to what I was saying. I was not trying to just attack anyone. I was trying to get help again. And so this is the part where things took a turn where I became really angry. Like it changed from me trying to get help and trying to, figure this out. And I wanted to make things work to realizing they are trying to, blame me, and they're trying to scapegoat me because I have stepped forward and brought things to light that they wanted to keep hidden in the shadows, and I have to be stopped at all cost. And I wasn't going to be stopped because this is where the situation with my child also came in, because behind closed doors, I was being told that he wanted a divorce and he was going to take my son. And outside, it was I'm the one that wanted a divorce, which was not the case at all. And so I was told this repeatedly, but to everyone else, it looked like I was causing a problem. I wanted to end the marriage. And then, of course, when I finally couldn't take it anymore and no one was helping me, I just said, I'm not going to do this. And so I did file for separation and divorce. And there was no infidelity. So at that time, where there was no grounds according to their rules, grounds for divorce, which is death or adultery. For people who don't know, you can't get a divorce unless one of those things, unless it's
There's no,
adultery.
there's no nuance when it comes to divorcing and remarriage. There's no nuance or accounting for mitigating circumstances or
No.
just, hey, this is really bad for my mental, emotional, physical well-being or whatever. I mean, in physical well-being, you can separate technically. You can separate, like you said, that's a whole rabbit hole. But
It is, but
they don't see all the different variables and they don't see the bigger. It's not your spouse. It's not your life. Stay out of my business.
Right, right.
Sorry.
And
Good.
then, no, but then just again, it's just these man made rules that are based on exaggerating scriptures and twisting things around and making things important that is not really important. And I was so angry and so hurt. And I just felt like I had been demonized and I was the villain. And so they definitely also I did go to my in-laws. Again, he was an elder, so in speaking with them just as people, just as family, to ask them to help, like please. And I sent my son to them. I said, you talk to them and see if they can, just maybe they'll listen to you. They're not going to listen to me. Maybe they'll listen to you. And so he went, and when that happened, they told him that I was crazy. So they told my child that I was crazy, and just I could go into like a lot more detail, but I'm going to leave out all the gory details of this. But I was raked across the coals, and so it involved my child. Like a lot of that at that point, I just didn't care anymore. I was just going to do what I wanted because they were going to judge me anyway. So then, but when they involved him, because that was not necessary. And I had been shielding him from things anyways, as any good parent would do. Like he to this day does not know all the details of things. So, so yeah, so I was furious. And so anyway, the divorce happened, and I still was trying at that point to continue on. Like I wanted to try to be a witness. I was not, I knew that like all these things were wrong. I was complaining about it. I was upset about it. I wanted justice, but I didn't, I wasn't seeing that it was like the witness part of it. I still felt like, oh, I want to have this relationship with God, and so I moved to another congregation and started my new life. And it's just been, it's not all been horrible. And there are really good people in this, within the organizations that, I mean, I was, and I know there are others, but as a group, as a whole, and the leadership of this that's the problem.
Bingo.
And
Yep.
so yeah, so I'm not, there's been other things since then.
But so
Like,
I'm sorry. So the divorce happened
mhm.
and then they started, I'm trying to piece something together, and maybe I missed something. I'm sorry. So you went to a separate congregation and you were kind of hanging by a thread. You still kind of believed. And then so what was the turning point when they said that you were raked over the coals and they got your son involved? So why are you, I mean, besides all the obvious reasons, why are you here today really speaking out and kicking them in the teeth? What did they eventually do to your son or say to your son?
So this has been something that's been progressive, that they've been influencing him on since through all these years. And most recently, what has just thrown me into action, I've been fading, like, or faded. I haven't been really doing anything or participating in that or considering myself a witness for a long time now. But now wanting to speak out about it so openly, because I had still had a bit of a relationship with him, and I had noticed that he was being very distant and would not, just was really cutting me off. And it was almost like he was fading from me. And when I approached him about this, um, it came out that because I am not a witness, that he was not going to be having a relationship with me. And he just flat out said it. And I asked him, I said, so you are telling me that you want a relationship, you love me, I was a good mother, everything is good, but because I'm not going to meetings and I'm not pretending and I'm not living a lie, you won't have a relationship with me or be in contact with me. And that his answer was yes. And so, I
See,
mean, Bethany, we know that this is not something that he came up with on his own.
thank you. Thank you. I wanted you to say it, but that's not natural. That's not a natural response because any other church that doesn't practice shunning or is not as strict as the Jehovah's Witnesses knows family is a sacred thing. Like maybe okay, maybe you disagree with the fact that mom doesn't go to church anymore, or if the tables were turned, maybe I wish my son or daughter still praised the Lord and went to church with us on Sundays. We're hoping she accepts Christ or whatever the thing is. You know what I mean? You might feel a certain way towards a family member, but ultimately you love that family member. You don't cut off family.
Yeah.
And so that's not a natural instinctual response to be like, well, mom, because you're not doing all the Jehovah's Witness, going through all the motions and checking all the boxes, that shows that he's being coached.
Of course he's being
Yeah.
coached. And I know the people that are coaching him. So it's of course he is. And this has been something that I've known about for a long time. And I knew about specific times when they had, encouraged him not to. But it's just become more, he's just not at a stage in his life where he can accept losing everything just to be able to stay in contact with his mother. He's being put in an impossible position,
Right.
you see. So it's either or. You can't have both if you want to be a witness. So, which is ridiculous. And so I would like to go back and just cover a few things about that in between stage between like right now and when I did, move into the other congregation. I would like to say too that one of the things about the elders specifically is that they, as I started to try to fade, they did try to contact me and they did want to meet with me. And this is another thing. This is one of the problems, and this is something with my son also that's an issue, is they want, I met with them. Like they do what they call shepherding calls, which is where they come to your house or they meet with you somewhere and they try to encourage you, supposedly. And I did that. Like at first I allowed them to come and they came to my home. We talked. Again, I went to the elders in my congregation multiple times and talked to them about things that were concerning me, different things that were bothering me, things that I felt like I needed help with. And again, I had the same blank stare, the same lack of any understanding of anything was what I was faced with. They never gave me any practical help. It was always the same thing. It's like, well, just talk to us, or you need to talk to us. And I'm like, I am talking to you. What do you mean? Like, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you right now. So, but it's like a canned response. And one of the tipping points for me that made me genuinely just leave when I've started to just kind of really fade away and stop going to meetings altogether was one of those brothers that was contacting me. They put notes in my door. They came to my house. They called me. They texted me. They came to my work. I work in a public place, so they came to my job. Oh yeah. And so they were hunting me down. And because I refused at that point to meet with them anymore, I'm just like, there's no point in me talking to you. You're not listening to anything. I got a text from one of the elders that said something about, well, when you've lost Jehovah's favor. And I said, you know what? That's it. That's it. I'm done. Because you've obviously judged me. You just said, if you've lost God's favor. So what do you want me to say? You already know. Like, you've already come to the decision that I've lost God's favor. So what you're doing, you're
Wow.
trying, yeah, what they were doing was entrapment. They want you to meet with them so they can coerce some sort of a confession out of you so that they can be done with you, because they're tired of dealing with this. They're tired of your mouth, and they want you to hush. And that's what they wanted from me. They were tired of it. They were done. It's like, this lady is just,
They don't actually want to solve problems.
no,
It's like, I don't,
no,
I'm sorry to, if I'm sorry to add a little bit of levity to this, but were you,
no.
I don't, for anybody, maybe you've seen, maybe you know what I'm talking about. For anybody who's seen the show The Office, there's,
Yeah,
okay, there's like an episode where Toby, he's the HR guy, and he's
yeah,
like, we don't really actually help people or like solve problems. Really, Michael, if you just kind of like listen to people. Sorry, I love that show. I'm a
yeah,
huge fan. So
yeah.
he's like, you just sit in a room and listen to people gripe, and then it just kind of resolves itself, you know. But like that's how the elders are. They're not actually trying to help you. So you're going to them hoping that you're going to get some compassion, some a reasonable conversation, reach some reasonable resolution. And it's not really about that. It's about following the rules. Shut up, woman.
Yep.
And are you falling in line? And so the
Mhm.
irony of them chasing you down and hunting you down, uh, and the fact that you're just like not falling into place.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what they're after, and I love it. I recently did a video called if a Jehovah's Witness ever says this to you, don't let it go. And the
Yep.
phrase, okay, I don't. The phrase is when, and I know you know what I'm talking about. Well, only Jehovah can read the heart. Well, if that's the case, why are you judging everybody? Like
Right.
you guys are the most judgmental people,
Right.
So yeah, the fact that they say that you've fallen out of Jehovah's favor, that's a effing bold thing to say.
It was a very
Um,
bold thing to say. And I love the way when I had an issue with it, it was just dismissed as if it was nothing. Okay, well, you let someone come and tell you that and tell me how you feel.
like, how do you know about what's inside? Yeah, of course, but that tracks. Sorry, that tracks.
Yeah, for sure. So that was honestly, I know that sounds like just a tiny thing, but it was
It,
just like bing, the end. And
so that was the snapping moment for you.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, all
it
right.
was like I'm teetering up here on the tip top, and it boink just right over the edge. So then it was over. So I stopped going, and there. The thing is like, for as far as my child is concerned, um, he he's still like, I raised him in this, so he's not fully understand. Like, I'm giving some compassion to some of these family members, to him, and to even like my mother and some of the others who, because she told me she agrees with him. When I was talking with her, and it was a terrible conversation. Like, it was a very hurtful conversation, and I don't want it to sound like I'm being disrespectful to my family, especially to my own mother. But I will say, like, it was a really horrible conversation, because she even told me that, like, she asked me, why, what have you ever gotten for standing up for yourself, Kelly? And I'm thinking, well, in this organization, nothing but heartache and turmoil. But in real life, in like actual life, standing up for myself is what's gotten me everything that I have that's like really good and supporting me. So everything I did to follow the rules of that organization led to nothing but chaos, turmoil, misery, heartbreak. When I've started to find myself and who I am outside of that, and I've stood up for myself and had courage and success in my life as me, um, it's actually great.
You're not rewarded for authenticity in the organization. It's a very
No.
homogenous, like you said, canned
Mhm.
manufactured happiness. It's a lie. And that's not to say that you, sorry, it's you can have your belief system and I can disagree with it. If it makes you happy, I'm not trying to take that away. Just leave my son alone, leave my family
Yes.
alone. That's really the
Yes.
key thing. It's not even to just make fun of the witnesses or hate on the witnesses. It's like, I don't begrudge you your faith system, but you need to keep it's the overreach, Kelly. That
Yeah.
that's what I felt. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I felt when you reached out to me and I
Hmm.
read your story and I said, this woman is on a mission.
Hmm.
She gets the snapping point. It's not because we all have crazy stories.
Yeah.
We all have crazy backgrounds from this organization. That's what this organization does to people. So we all have a general template that we experienced, but when I heard you, and your specific situation, it wasn't just here's everything I've been through, but which is bad enough, but it was like, man, I was just trying to step away and like just unwind the crazy knots that they put in my brain since birth and just move on with my life and be at peace. And now you're trying to take my son away from me. I could feel the justified rage and snapping point, and it is wrong what they are doing. And
It is.
I feel sorry for your son. I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for your family, because it's completely inhumane and it's overreach. Stay out of people's private lives and families.
Yes, yes, it's infuriating, and I feel the anger from you just talking about it because everyone who hears this story should be enraged, honestly, because I have unconditional love for my son,
Right.
and my door is always open to him. And yeah, there have been times when I've, throughout this whole process, I've made have lashed out and said things I don't mean, and I'm always sorry for for that. I'm always sorry for that. But ultimately, I am trying to be the best person I can be and live, a good life and be happy. I'm just looking for happiness and love and to love others. And I just think that this is just a horrific injustice. And like you said, not just for me, but also for him, because really, this is not serving him. This is creating a huge, like, very unhealthy situation in his life. This is not a healthy way of handling this. And I'm really powerless to stop it at this point because I'm just me and they're all them. And yeah, it's I'm up against an entire organization that is promoting this policy that and don't get me wrong, like, be clear. I have not officially been announced to the congregation as being removed. Now, I might be after this video.
I was fixing to say after
I
sorry,
mean,
sorry, Kelly, but after this, probably the last nail in the coffin, but it's
pretty
okay.
sure.
But
Yeah.
you know what? It's okay. Their loss and their
Thank you.
loss, and you're doing an incredibly brave thing. And you stood up for what you believed in and you fought for your son.
Hmm.
That's I have mad respect for you. So
Thank
where
you.
do you absolutely. I mean, they stole my parents from me because
Yeah.
I think there's this misconception, and this isn't the case with everybody. It's the internet. People form opinions. They don't like your haircut, or they don't like your, the wind changes direction. They have an opinion. But
Yeah.
my point being is that there's some that I know that would say like, oh, this is just have an axe to grind. She just has an axe to grind. She's just pissed, or she wants revenge, or this, she's bitter or whatever. And that's easy. That's a cheap shot. I actually had a good relationship with my parents, and the organization stole them from me. Now,
Right.
granted, I got to move on with my life. I can't wait with bated breath by the telephone, waiting for my parents to wake up and realize they're in a cult and reestablish a relationship with their daughter. But I'm in the same boat as you, just different relationship. So
Mhm.
for you, it was your son, and for me, it's my parents. And it's like, I don't care if you're a Jehovah's Witness, mom and pop. I love you no matter what, you know? Like you
Yeah.
said, your love is unconditional for your family. Well, that's me, and that's not just you and I. We're drops in the bucket. There's so many people that are going to be watching this or have lived through it that they had something good, and just the organization stay out of my business, stay
Yeah.
out of our life, you know? And so that was what motivated me to stop the shunning. I was like, there's an incredible YouTube community of people who know what we've been through,
Yeah.
other Jehovah's Witnesses. So you
Yeah.
saw me,
Hmm.
somebody's going to see you, and it's this domino effect of, oh, I'm not crazy. The
Right.
organization, yeah, I'm not crazy.
Right.
I feel validated. And okay, I was telling you this off camera when we were chatting.
Hmm.
Who knows? I might not have started a channel if I still had, I'm just being honest. I might not have started a channel had I still had a relationship with my folks and just kind of like went away and stopped being witness. But when they were so hard line, just, they have all that pressure. My father's an elder, been an elder forever. My mother's super devout. And then just like having people chirp in their ear, and then they can't use their own brain, it's like
Hmm.
they're stuck in it, and they've been doing this their whole life. It's like I can't wait with bated breath. But when you took my parents from me,
Hmm.
like I'm not gonna go after the witnesses, but like you stole, I have to talk about this.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I felt just as motivated. I think that's just the bottom line of what I'm getting at, is that
Yeah.
I felt just as motivated as you did to say, oh, nah, my parents, I spoke to them 3 times on the phone every day. And now I haven't heard their voice in 8 years. No, I
Yeah.
feel motivated to talk about this so that the next time a Jehovah's Witness comes to somebody's door, they don't think they're just a sweet little quirky religious group. They'll have more of an idea of what people are suffering from who
Right.
who leave, and the real world consequences of the real world impact that this organization has on families. So,
Right, right. And there's something that I missed in talking about, and it's huge, and I can't believe I forgot.
no, no, no.
I can't
Okay.
believe I forgot to tell you or to talk about it. But something like in between all of this that was happening, I think I forgot to mention it just because I, my father wasn't really a part of my life while these different instances were going on. And the reason is because my father was also disfellowshipped. So he was removed from the congregation
Okay.
after I think he had been inactive through our life, but then uh, he got disfellowshipped, which basically just means he was shunned. Um, After I was an adult, I was already married. So so here's the thing, going back to talking about how devout I was and how I was following all the rules. So that was another thing. And this is another thing that brings up a lot of anger for me, is that I followed those rules of shunning myself to the T. Like, even when other family members would talk to him, I would actually get upset, and I would show them from like the publications how we're not supposed to, it's not loving, we're not supposed to speak to them because they won't come back to Jehovah if you don't. Like, that was me, my mindset. So I didn't even speak to my own father. So that's why this with my son is so it is so, and just makes me so frustrated because my father passed away, and I had not. He had made attempts to contact me, to speak to me. He even came to a memorial one time and tried to talk to me and to my son. And I didn't speak to him. That was back when you couldn't even say a greeting to them, right? So I didn't even say hello to him. And so when he was in the hospital dying, my son took me. We went to the hospital, and he, on his deathbed, told me that he loved me, and that he told my son to to take care of his mom. He pointed. He was not able to really speak, and he could not move very much, but he was able to get that out. And so I have, at that point too, like that was a few years ago, and that was another turning point for me to like start thinking about things, thinking about my, like how I had been living my whole life. And also my son saw this, like he saw the effect that shunning has on a family. And so that's why this is so frustrating for me right now, because you do regret things. Like you do, I can't go back now and have a relationship with my dad. It's done. Like he's gone. So, just they're playing with fire, and it's not funny. Like, I know that a lot of people do just think Jehovah's Witnesses are this weird cult, or these weird people that knock on your door on Saturday morning or stand on the corner at a cart. Or, the weird people that you work with that don't celebrate holidays. And it's just so much deeper than that, like so much deeper. So I
And
don't,
just the magnitude, they don't understand the magnitude and the degree of control.
yeah.
I'm so sorry that it took that situation with your father passing. I'm glad that you were able to have that moment with him, and that
Yes, that was a beautiful moment that I will always cherish. But again, there's what they don't realize is the time and the relationship that you're losing in the meantime that you cannot get back. So, yeah.
So, Kelly, for somebody who might be in your position, maybe had a similar background or is going through something similar, might be questioning, they were raised in the Jehovah's Witnesses just like you. What advice do you have or tips do you have for somebody who might, be sitting in the Kingdom Hall secretly wondering maybe this isn't the truth? What advice do you have for them? Or, yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So, my advice to them is, well, first of all, I just want to tell them that you're not alone. You are not alone. There are many people who have those same feelings. You are not crazy, and you have legitimate concerns, and you have the right to ask questions. You have the right to ask those questions, and you have the right to have those questions answered. So you don't always have to like the answer that you receive, but you deserve to be able to openly discuss how you feel about what you're learning and your life, since this is something that is so all encompassing for your life. And witnesses discuss this very openly and clearly, about it being a whole way of life. So you're not alone, and you have support. And if you want to leave, you don't want to do it anymore, you do not have to live in fear. You can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Because there was nobody more afraid than me. I was terrified. And every single step that I took was new and scary, and I did it. And sometimes I had help, and sometimes I didn't. And you will survive, you will make it, and just find community like this. You don't realize that you have this kind of support, because we're told we live in this bubble. We don't know that this stuff is out here. And so once you realize that it is, if you are fortunate enough to be hearing this message, take it and run with it, and prepare and plan. Like, don't be foolish, because these people have an agenda and they will come after you. It is a scary thing. They mean business, but you just still, you can stand up for yourself, and you're not going to face the consequences that they try to make you be so afraid of. Like, they don't have real authority over you. It is a man-made authority. They've given it to themselves. They can't make rules for you. If you don't want to follow the rule, if you don't want to go to the elders and confess something, you don't have to. So that's what I want to say to the people that are within it and they're questioning it. To the people who are non-witnesses that don't really understand, and you can't fully unless you've actually been through it. But if you want to try to understand what a witness is going through, first of all, I would say, just have compassion, because they grew up or have for a very long time been taught that everyone in the outside who's not a witness in the world, as they call it, is bad. Like, you're going to be destroyed. You are going to be destroyed by God in the end. Everyone that's not serving Jehovah as a witness. So this is their mindset. And I literally was kind of like living as two people. Like, when I was trying to get out of it, there was one part of me who was trying to hold on to these beliefs, and one part of me that was fighting against that. And so I had this conflict. And so just understand, when you are talking to someone going through this is a real struggle. So have some compassion and try to understand as best you can. But what I would say is, and this is, I ask everyone to do this, is when you're talking to a witness, don't beat up on just the women and children necessarily, but the leadership of that organization, and the elders, anyone who's, male figures that are leaders in that, and even some of the pioneers or whatever, the women who put themselves up to, make them look you in the eyes. Make them look you in the eyes and explain this situation that you've heard about today. Make them explain that to you. Make them explain to you why this is okay. Don't let them off the hook. This isn't funny. This is not just somebody leaving magazines at your door. This is real life. Real people are being affected and destroyed and hurt. And that organization destroys families. They destroy families. Okay? Read my lips, understand what I'm telling you. They destroy families. They rip them apart. So if you are a person who is a decent human, this should upset you. This should motivate you to at least have a feeling of anger about the situation. I realize not everybody's going to, be on their soapbox about this, but it should at least touch people's heart if you are a human. And so, yeah, so that's my message. And, at the very least, I feel better having been able to at least speak openly about it today. So,
Kelly, thank you so much for sharing your story today. I hope, for your sake and for your son's sake, that he eventually wakes up and finds a way to pry himself loose, because he is under the thumb or in the grip of the organization. He is being coached, and I am really sorry that you're dealing with this. I hope at some point he wakes up and he's able to pry himself loose from the organization, and then you two will have a lot to talk about. Big reunion. Like you said, it's really sad what they do to families. It's completely inhumane how they destroy families and destroy lives. Yeah, again, sorry you're going through this, but it is I have mad respect for you for doing this, for going public. I could feel, again, I don't have biological kids of my own, but I could feel a mother's not just rage, which is justified, but your determination, your strength, your resilience, your bravery. You should be applauded for what you're doing, coming out here, because you're essentially fighting for your son.
Yeah.
So, so thank you for being so candid and vulnerable. Thank you
Thank you.
very much. If you enjoyed this interview, please like and subscribe, share with somebody that you think would benefit from Kelly's story. And again, thank you, Kelly, for coming on Stop the Shunning.
Thank you.
Bye.